I think
That's a hot take.
I think there's a lot of.
I agree with it. To be fair, but
Yeah,
it's a hot take.
I think there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of. What's the word? Rock paper scissors, right? I think there's specific lists that if you take that list, if someone takes a list that counters it, you're kind of really gonna have a rough time. But it goes back to this is very, very heavily a dice game through initiative and the attacks. Like there's a huge element of randomness, and you can lose any game or win any game by rolling incredibly or terribly. So we've talked in the past about how you just kind of work around that by trying to remove the dice rolls, but at the same time you can never fully do that. So
on the flip side though,
yeah,
I think it's incredibly I've probably said this before in videos, possibly on Wild Dice. I think that blaming dice at any point for wins or for losses is really counterintuitive. I think it's damaging to your actual growth. Like if you lose because of dice, you might have lost heavily. Dice were a massive factor. That's fair. Ignore it. It doesn't fucking matter. Ignore it. Like look at the things you did well. Look at the things that you did wrong or bad. And focus on those and grow, right? We had a game recently that'll be on my channel probably next week, right? You diced me so hard in that game.
Yeah,
it was
I am
disgusting.
really sorry. It was.
However, I played terribly. There was not even like a single thing I did well in that game. It was so badly played on my end. And the dice did not matter. Like, in hindsight, the dice were like the cherry on top to a really badly played game. And like learn from that, right? Happens to everyone. Ignore the dice. And if you win by dice, look at the things that you did well anyway. Ignore the dice. Yeah, I might have diced someone and then won that way. But look at the actual things you did well, things you could have done better, and work from there, right? Like, it's a dice game, but largely ignore the fucking dice if you want to get better. Or only roll sixes like I do.
Yeah, that's always an option. It is always an option.
It's a multiplier. There is still agency regardless of the dice rolls. You still, as a player, have agency, and you can do things to affect the game. Although rolling a quad 6 on round 1 when I was 7 inches away from your leader.
That was on me, though. I could have been 7.1.
That was.
I chose to be 7 inches away, so I could shoot.
It was an Endrin Master with the Endrin harness that flew 6 inches and absolutely caves Jondara's skull in with 3 attacks, and it was genuinely the best thing that could have happened to that game for me. And it's wild. It's difficult to be like. It's difficult from there to kind of steady the game. But I will say, that was another notch in the other controversial opinion of when they changed Rampage, it hurt more than it helped.
That was the idea, though.
What do you mean?
Would you mean it hurt the game more than it helped, or?
I think that it became more of a problem because more things that are under 4, movement 4, will hit harder, so they could move further out.
Okay, yeah,
but you got to remember that the things that were rampaging before were basically Varanguards with movement 12, Formerid Crushers with movement 5.
Sure.
Yeah.
So all it really did was allow movement 3 to rampage further, and the only real things that affects is orcs. Like, that's it.
Paladins.
Listen, the amount of mega bosses I've thrown at people's faces with moves.
Yeah, mega bosses are good, right? Mega bosses have raw stats for like 210 points or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think it's like, you know.
I think Rampage is just an issue in general. I think like there's way more interesting ways to have quads in Rampage. Is just like the most bland way
Efficient.
to run a quad.
Yeah,
but
but
it's also the most efficient in
difficult.
most cases. It's like the best way to use your quad. It's also boring as fuck.
2 free actions. So
it's really good.